All right, so good morning, everybody, and welcome back to our session. In our last class, we have seen how to write a simple map reduce program. So we were just trying to solve a problem, a very simple problem called word count, wherein you are given some files which contain some words, and you are ultimately trying to calculate how many occurrence of each word is present in the whole data set. In our yesterday's class, we had also seen how to collect all the libraries, right? And we went to various different Hadoop directory and locations, and we picked up whatever possible libraries we had seen, and somehow we managed to run our program, right? Now, this is a common thing which you will see in the industry, that there are so many libraries and you are really not sure which libraries would be needed. Okay, so today our main agenda would be finding out the exact library, right? So whatever library we had seen used yesterday, if you start counting them by numbers, you'll find them it was more than 50-80 libraries we have added all together, but all of them are really not required. So hardly, few, maybe 4, 5, 6 libraries are required. So we have to figure it out. How do we even identify from those list of 80 plus libraries, how to find out which are the actual library which is required, right? So this is what will come by your experience, right? And I have been doing a lot of projects on Java since last 10 years, a lot of projects on Java, Hadoop and all. So this becomes automatically, it comes by your experience. Okay, all right, so now what we are going to do, let's try to understand it. Okay, so we already have a project called word count project. We already have a project, right? We already have a project word count, wherein, if you remember, we had a library folder wherein we copied all jar files, right? That is what we have done yesterday. The first thing, we added all the possible jars in our lib, right? And then what we did is we added all of them into build path. Just to added all of them in our build path. Okay, adding it to your build path means making it visible to your Eclipse, right? Just when you add a jar here, just when you add the jar here, it will not make it visible. You'll have to add it to the build path. We have also seen that yesterday, right? Now what we will do is, and then we wrote our mapper, reducer and driver, right? This is what we did yesterday altogether. This is what we did yesterday altogether. Now what we are going to do is, we will create one more project. We will create one more project. Okay, so I'll say word count with required jars. Okay, we will create one more project, word count with required jars, wherein we will have a lib folder. Okay, and we will have the same user mapper, reducer and driver. Okay, and we will try to figure out what are the exact jar files required to make this program runnable. Okay, to make this program runnable, and you should be able to run it very smoothly. Okay, so the concept is very similar. See, in your mapper, in your reducer, in your driver, you are using many such predefined classes of Hadoop, right? Like you write public class myMapper extends mapper class. So that extends mapper class is basically what is a predefined class from your Apache Hadoop, right? Similarly, you say public class my reducer extends reducer. Reducer is another class from Apache Hadoop. Similarly, you are saying you are creating the object of configuration. You are creating the object of job.getInstance, right? So all these are basically what? All these are basically the classes which are present, which are given by Hadoop, right? So they are present in one or other library. So first thing is we have to resolve that problem, because if you don't have anything on your lib folder, and if you just copy paste this code to here, it will show you the compilation error, because it says I don't understand what is the meaning of predefined mapper class, reducer class, driver class. I don't understand what is long writable text, int writable, and all, right? So those classes has to be resolved first, and they are called as main classes. Okay, we have to first figure out in which packages, in which jar file those classes are even present. Okay, the concept is very simple. All you need to do is one magical shortcut, that is plus t. Okay, this is a magical shortcut. Over the period of time, we are going to master all these secrets, okay, all these hidden tricks, and book will not teach you this, only experience can teach you this, right? So we will do this kind of analysis, and we will see how can we exactly find out the jar file whatever is required. So we will just say control shift t, right? Control shift t, and you just say I am looking for a mapper class, tell me in which jar file it is present. Your control shift t will tell you exactly which jar file contains mapper class, reducer class, and int writable class, a long writable class, configuration class, job class, and so on, right? So that's how you will basically be able to figure it out. So now let's go back to the desktop and let us explore how exactly we can do it practically. Okay, so let me share my screen now. Go to SD user, go to Eclipse, and launch your Eclipse. Okay, now whatever I'm showing you today here will also work on in your IntelliJ as it is, because we have enabled the same shortcut in our IntelliJ in our last class, right? So the same concept will work there too. Now we have started our Eclipse. Okay, the first thing what I want to do is let me open terminal. Let me open terminal and let me just say start all .sh. Okay, let the Hadoop services be up and running. So we are back to this place, word count, right? And we have driver, mapper, and reducer. Driver is the class which contains the main method, right? So we'll, if we run this program, then it gives us the output, like say right click, you can close this outline. If I run this program, this is yesterday's example, and if I run this program, then it will work as it is, right? And if you see, we already have added a lot of jar files, and we did it yesterday, right? So if you want to count by numbers, let's see how many jar files are actually added yesterday. Okay, so I can see around 230 plus, right? So around 230 plus jars are added yesterday when we wanted to execute our first word count example. So now what I'll do, check this out very carefully. I'll create a new project. Okay, I'll create a new project. I'll go here, file, new project, and I'll say Java project. Next, and let me give the project name, like I'll say word count with needed jars. Okay, and I'll say finished, and I'll say don't create any modules, and I can still say okay, no. Okay, so open perspective is up to you whether you want to say yes or no. If you say yes, then you will lose this project explorer, you get the package explorer, right? So I just wanted to be here on the project explorer, that's the reason I said no there, right? Okay, now this is a program, this is a project where we are going to write our word count example again, right? So what I'll do is I'll go back to my previous word count example, and from here let me say control C, I'm copying this whole package and I'll just put it here. Okay, all right, this is done. Now if I go back to this package, you can see I have a driver, mapper, and reducer, but there are some errors, and you can see that those errors, you can understand that there are errors by looking at this cross symbol, right? So there are errors in mapper, reducer, and driver. Let me open mapper. Okay, so see, it says, hey, this project does not understand what is long writable text and int writable, right? Because these classes are present in some jar file, and we have to specifically configure that. We have to tell this class should be taken from this jar, right? Because they are all Hadoop related jars. Okay, it will not give you any problem in this line string, right? Because string is a concept of Java, right? So when you create a Java project, it has the capability to identify all the default classes, all the classes of the default packages, right? So that it will not have any problem to identify string and all, right? But it will have a problem identifying this long writable, int writable and all. Okay, context object and all, right? So similarly, if I go to driver, in this also you'll see there are a lot of errors, right? It says I'm not able to identify all these jar files. Okay, all these classes where exactly they are present. So what we have to do, let's do it one by one. Okay, now I will try to resolve it one by one. So let me just select all this. Let me select this complete class name, org Apache Hadoop conf.configuration, copy. Okay, control C, copy. Now I will just say Control Shift and T. Okay, Control Shift and T. I'll get this open type. Okay, and let me paste it over here. Okay, let me paste it over here. So if you see, it is able to identify that my configuration class is present inside these many jars. Okay, these many jars. So see, if you see the configuration, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. So one is a configuration object, one is a configuration class C, another is configuration interface I for interface, right? C for class, I for interface. So we are looking for a class, we are not looking for interface. How can you say that? Because see, in this example I have created the object of a class, right? And you cannot create the object of an interface. You can always create the object of a class, the Java concept, is not it? So that means I'm clearly looking for this class, configuration class, and not interface. Okay, copy, Control Shift T. Okay, now this is where it is, and it says it is present in Hadoop client API 3.3.0.jar, right? So if you look into this, it is saying it is present in Hadoop client API 3.3.0.jar. Okay, so what should we do now? We should now get this jar file from where. See, this suggestion is coming just because you have one more project where you have already added them in the build path. If you remove all of them from the build path, then it will not work. If you remember, we have a word count example where we have added a lot of jar files and we have added them in the build path, and that is the reason you are able to see this option. Okay, if you delete this project word count, then you will not see this option, because there will be no jar file in this whole project, right? But right now we have a lot of jar file inside this word count, and that is the reason it is giving you this suggestion. Okay, so it says Hadoop client API 3.3.0. so go back to this place, okay. Now here say Control F, just say Control F and Hadoop client API. This is what we were looking for, is not it? Hadoop client API 3.3.0.jar. So copy this. Okay, copy this and let's go back and paste it over here. We will paste it. We'll create a lib folder here also. Okay, so new folder lib. Okay, and let me paste it over here. Paste it. Okay, now as I have told you, just pasting will not help, right? So you'll have to include that into your build path. So build path, configure build path, and go to your libraries, go to your class path and say add jar files. Okay, and go here, go to your library and select this and say apply and close. Done. Okay, now see, when I added that, all these errors are gone, right? All these errors are gone, and there are no more errors in your project, right? The project is neat and clean now, right? Which means the project is now compiled successfully, right? It does not have any issue with compilation. It compiled successfully. Great. Okay, now if it has compiled successfully, then what we should do next is, let us try to run this program. Okay, so let's try to run this program. I'll say run as Java application. Okay, Now what you will get is you will still start getting more errors. Okay, and let me tell you why exactly it has happened. Okay, so now let's understand the concept of main and dependent jar file. So what we have done so far is we have created a project, right? And inside that project we have mapper, reducer, and driver, right? These are our classes. So let me say my mapper, my reducer, my driver. And if we don't add any jar file to the project build path, then we will get a lot of compilation issue first, right? So for example, in our driver class, it says, I don't understand what is this configuration class. I don't understand what is iterable. I don't understand what is text. I don't understand what is a job class, and so on. Is not it? Now, in order to solve this problem, what we did is we just added a jar file. What was that? Hadoop client API.jar. Is not it? So we just added Hadoop client API.jar and we got rid of that compilation errors. But when you try to run this program, what happens is this configuration class, okay, like if you go back to the source code, it will be like this: class configuration, okay, and xyz, a lot of code over here, okay. Now this configuration class is present inside this jar. That's absolutely fine. But now the problem is there are some classes which are internally used within this configuration object, and these classes are not present here. They are not present here. Okay. Now when you try to run the program, somehow this configuration class object will also, this configuration class source code will also get executed, right? And under that process, during that process, it will say, hey, I'm not able to recognize what is this XYZ, but it was not a compilation issue, right? So what will happen is you will get a problem of class not found exception. Okay, and why are you getting this is because your configuration class is present in Hadoop client API. That's okay, compiled successfully. But when you are running this program, your configuration class is internally using some other class, right? Some other class, and that some other class is not present in your Hadoop client API. Okay, and it is not even present in any of the libraries which is added to the build path so far. For example, suppose here you are using string class, then there will not be any problem to identify this string class, because by default by default it is a Java project and java.lang package already has this string, so you really don't have to worry about it. But there are some new classes which you don't know, okay, but they are being used internally. So these classes will cause a problem called class not found exception. How do you resolve this problem? You will have to identify on which jar this XYZ is present. Okay, and what is the process? Same process, right? Whatever we have followed right now, that is Control Shift plus T, right? You will say Control Shift plus T, and then again find out where exactly this jar file is present. Again go back and add that jar, okay, and again build, add them into your build path. Again try. Again it will fail with some other reason, XYZ reason. Keep trying it, understand till you don't find everything, all good. Okay, so that is what we are going to do right now. So I hope you understood the concept of dependent jar file. This is called as your dependent jar file. This is called as your dependent class. Okay, and this jar file, whatever you are trying to find out, is basically called as dependent jar file, right? Now this is your main class configuration, and this is the main jar file which was required. But this is a dependent class and this is the dependent jar file. Okay, so now we are in a problem where we were able to successfully execute our program. We were able to successfully compile our program, but while executing, it is giving us error because of some other class jar files which are missing. Okay, now let's move on back to the screen and we will continue from here. Okay, so yeah, share screen. All right, so what is the problem now you are facing? You are facing a problem of org Apache Hadoop 𝗂𝗽𝗶𝗴𝗃𝑖𝑜 input bootstrapper, right? So let's copy this. What exactly this class will do? None of your business, right? They are just required. That's it. Okay, they are just required. So I'll say Control C, copy this, okay, and again go back and say Control Shift T, right, and say paste. Okay, now if you see, it says this jar file, this class file is present in Hadoop client runtime 3.3.0. Okay, so see, the first one is the class name input bootstrapper. This line, this part, the first part is your class name. The second part is your package. Okay, the third part is your location of the jar. Okay, but what I can understand from here is this Hadoop client runtime 3.3.0 jar contains this particular class called input bootstrapper, is not it? So let's go ahead and let's copy this Hadoop client runtime jar. Okay, Hadoop client runtime. So again, go back to this lib and say search it, Control F. You can say Hadoop hyphen client and runtime. This is what we are looking for, right? So copy this. All right, and let's go back, say paste, done. So we have added Hadoop client runtime as well, but they are not added into your build path, right? So you'll have to again add that into your build path. So let's quickly do that. So say build path, configure build path, and go to your class path, add jars, and add runtime, right? And say apply and close, done. So we have added one more jar. Let's see what happens now. Okay, now again I'll right click and say run as Java application. Okay, now it is saying that problem is gone, but now I have similar other classes which are internally used by your code base, and I'm still not able to find out where it is present. So this time it is 𝐿4j_logger factory. Copy this, again say Control Shift T and say paste, right? And this is what you have, logger factory, right? Where it is present, SLF4J API, right? SLF4J API. Okay, so again say cancel and go back to this library, Control F, and at the bottom SLF4J API. This is the one, right? This is the one which we are looking for. Copy, Control C. Okay, and just paste it over here. Paste, right? Again, do the same thing. Build path, configure build path. Okay, again go here, add jars, and go to library and SLF4J and say apply and close. Do it again. Run as Java application. Okay, now again it is failing on org Apache Commons loggers log factory. So let's see where exactly it is present. Again, do the same thing. Copy this whole class package name, Control Shift T, paste it. Okay, and log factory is present in your commons logging jar. Okay, so again go back to this place, Control F, commons logging dot jar, this one, commons logging dot jar. Copy this. Okay, and let's say paste here, paste. Okay, and again right click and say build path, configure build path, go to class path, add external jars, sorry, not add external jars, add jars, go to your lib and add commons logging, right? So, and say apply and close, done. Next, again let's try to run it. We are adding one jar, all these jar files one by one. Now it is saying I'm not able to find org Apache /trace core tracer dollar builder. Okay, so what is this dollar? This dollar is basically a separator between a class and an inner class. Okay, which means there is a class called builder class inside your class called tracer. Okay, so you don't have to really select everything. You can just go till here, just go till your outer class. Okay, select this, just say Control Shift T and paste. Okay, copy and paste. Now it's saying it is present in your 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 incubating.jar 𝗏𝗏𝗏. Okay, so just remember the name 𝗏𝗏𝗏. Say Control F, 𝗏𝗏𝗏. This is the one which we are looking for. Copy this, and again let's go back to this place and say paste. Right, and again do the same thing, right click and say build path, configure build path, class path, add jars, go to library and say htrace, apply and close, done. All right, now let's again try it out. Java application. Okay, so if you see this, if you see this symbol here, whatever I'm highlighting, okay, this is basically what it tells you if your job is running or successful, right? So if your job is running, then it will show you a red color symbol. It is saying, do you want to kill, right? So right now the job is completed. Okay, which means maybe I feel that my job was executed successfully. Okay, my job was executed successfully, but let's confirm it, right? So how do we confirm? Confirming is very easy. So see, your job is supposed to write the data in word count underscore output folder, which is present here. Okay, what I'll do is for my satisfaction, let me delete this output folder. Done. And let me refresh this. Okay, so there is only input folder now. Let me run this program again. Okay, so see, that was earlier read and then it's gone, which means it is saying, hey, I'm done with the job execution. All right, now if that is the case, then let me just refresh this and let's see what happened. Okay, so say refresh. All right, now if you see, you are able to see the output folder also. Word count underscore output folder was created. Okay, and there is a part 5. Okay, and I can see the output is apple 8 and ball 7. This is what we had, as per our data set, is not it? Which means my job is getting executed successfully, right? And I hardly need 4 to 5 jars, right? 1 2 3 4 5 jars, is not it? But in our last class, when we were looking at this program, right, when we had seen the execution of this job, that time we had seen a lot of outputs, right? So a lot of things were displayed on the screen, not just these 3 lines. Okay, now why is this happening? This is happening because you have not configured your log4j files. Okay, you have not configured your log4j jars and those details, and that is the reason you're not getting a lot of details in your console. Okay, we will have to configure that. I'll show you how to configure it, but right now what I'm trying to tell you is only these are the jar files which are required. Okay, so let me go back to my notes. Okay, so you don't have to worry, all these notes would be given to you in the website itself. You'll get access to it. Okay, so we have completed this part, right? And then as I'm telling you that it has not given you a proper output, right? In a proper output in the sense, in the console you're not able to see all the output as you had seen earlier, right? Those counters and all are missing. So what you need to do is you just have to add your log4j.properties. Okay, so how to add that? It's very simple. Create a log4j.properties and where inside your source folder. Okay, please go through my notes very clearly. Everything is written. See here, I created a 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏𝗏properties and kept it inside source folder, right? Very simple, 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏properties. So make sure that you are not making any spelling mistakes and the extensions are all good. So where to create that? Under your source here, okay? Right click and say new file, okay? New, go to others and then just say file, right? File and say next. What is the file you want to create? 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏properties, okay? And say finished. You got a file and say paste, okay? Now let me say, let me just change it to my console appender. We will talk about this log4j, okay, in a dedicated class. But right now, let me just try to show you all those counters back, right? Okay, so this is what we have done. We have just added some lines from by referring to my document, right? Okay, now the next thing what you need to do is you need to add a jar file called sl4jsimple1730.jar. This version can be anything, okay? So tomorrow when you search for this jar, you may get 1.8, you may get 1.9, you may get 3.0. Choose whatever is the recent version that should work, okay? Right now I will try to figure out this jar file, okay? So what you do is you just copy this, right? Open your browser and just say sl4j simple, because I had done that yesterday, right? Simple maven, okay? Just search it by this keyword, which means I'm saying I'm looking for sl4j simple in maven, right? So what is this maven? Let me tell you if you are not aware of, but we will learn more about this maven in the coming days. Maven is a place, okay, wherein you will get all the possible Java libraries, whatever you can think of, and they should be open source, okay, or they should be given an authority by the company to publish it, okay? So we are saying I'm looking for sl4j simple inside, give me this in my maven repository. We will talk about more about maven in the coming days, okay? Click on it. So you will see there are so many versions of this particular file, sl4j simple. 2.0 is also available, 1.x8 is also available, but they are all alpha and beta versions, which means they are in testing. You cannot trust it, trust it at your own risk, right? But that's okay. Let us not pick up the recent version. That's fine. We will go and pick up this version 1.7.30. Click on this, okay? So which means I want to download 1.7.30 version, right? And here if you see there is an option called files. Here there is an option called jar, right? So if you click on this, then it will get this downloaded in your machine. This type of file can harm this and that. Keep, okay, all right, and you have successfully installed this, you have successfully downloaded this file, right? So what you have to do is just copy this file and paste it under your lib folder, right? Say paste, okay? So yeah, so sl4j simple 1.7.30 is also added, okay? Now what we'll do is we'll again say right click and build path, configure build path, and again go to class path, say add external, say add jars, and go to this place, go to library and just choose sl4j simple, say apply and close, okay? We have done this also. Now let's go back and say run as Java application. Let's see what happens. Okay, now if you see there are too much of output, right? And this is the same thing which we used to see earlier, right? Which means now my program, my what count program is same as what we had seen yesterday, right? But this time we are able to at least find out what are the actual jar files which you require, okay? And why are they really required? See, this is a very important concept, guys, okay? People will not teach you this. Only experience can teach you this. Only experience, your experience, right? Now I'll give an example. Suppose you have designed this word count problem, okay, and you said to your manager, I'm done with this program, I built a program which can process this data and that, and we have to deploy it. Now when you want to deploy it, you will really not deploy them with all these jar files, right? You will not deploy them with all these jar files. This is really practically impossible. Okay, if you have your Hadoop, if you have some architect in your team, then he will clearly say a no to your deployment. He will say, tell me what are the jar files we require. Why do you want me to add 200 plus jar files? I am not going to do that, right? So that time what you need to do is you will have to follow the similar approach and start hunting, right? Start hunting and see what are the jar files you actually require, right? And when you say that, okay, these are the actual jar file you need, then you can just say, hey, this is what we can use. That's all what we want, right? And then you can just include this into your build jar and then deploy it on your production cluster or whatever cluster it is. Okay, so earlier we used to work in this fashion, getting the jar and putting them together. But these days there are so many build tools, like you have Maven, you have SBT, right, wherein you really don't even have to take a pain of downloading and putting it under your lib folder. Okay, you really don't have to do this, right? So you can just configure them in your pom.xml and everything would be taken care. It will be all downloaded automatically. We will talk about that exclusively in our next class. So I have used these techniques over the period of years. Okay, and this technique is not just related to big data project. Whenever you're working on any Java based system, okay, you may sometimes get a third party library, like you might sometimes get a project, a product wherein you have a lot of jar files, and those jar files are not even present in the internet. Okay, they are like, a very restricted jar files. And let's say you got 200 such jar files somebody gave you, and then they said use this jar file to develop the system, right? Because whatever you require, they would be present in one or other jar file out of these 200 jar files. Now the problem is, how do you identify, right? So this technique will help you to identify that, okay, out of this 200 jar files, these are the only jar files which you need, and then you can just add only those jar files and get them deployed on your production system. Okay, so this technique is really helpful when you are given a lot of jar file and you have to predict which are the jar files required. But once done, then it is all good, right? Then you can say, okay, these are the jar files which we require. So if you look into my document, I've mentioned everything in this document, what needs to be done and what are the jar file you need to add. And I've also given you a diagram here, okay, like the whole structure: word count, needed jars, driver, mapper, reducer. Okay, and inside your library you need only 6 jar file: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? The first 2 jar file you can get under your slash Hadoop home share Hadoop client. Okay, so this is the folder name. So what is the meaning of Hadoop underscore home slash user slash local slash Hadoop? Okay, so when I say Hadoop home, that means I'm talking about slash user slash local Hadoop. Inside that there is a folder called share and Hadoop and client. Go inside that, you'll find these 2 jars. Okay, similarly these 3 jars, the next 3 jars, you will find it at slash user local Hadoop share Hadoop common lib. Okay, so you'll find them over here. And the last one, SL4J simple 1.7.30.jar is downloaded from the Maven repository. Okay, so this is what it is. And once you have configured this, you will get access to your you'll be able to run your program smoothly. Okay,